Hey everyone, Lee with LG Speed and Custom here, and welcome to part 2 of Elios Model A Roadster Thrash build. So welcome to part 2 of Elios Roadster build. This is like a collaboration build with myself, Elio, Life with a Peperoni, obviously Karl Fisher from Make It Customs. We've got Kyle Carter from Carter's Auto Restyling here. And together the four of us are trying to build a hot rod for Elio. So in video 1, did the front suspension on this. This is a 33 to 36 Ford axle that Elio and I dropped together a couple months back. It's got 36 Ford split wishbones on the front, F1 brakes, F1 spindles. We got early Ford wire wheels. Pretty much a stock Model A frame. Elio did a 4.5-inch kick up in the back and then moved the cross member 7.5 inches back. And that is because this video we are installing this 48 Ford banjo rear end, and the 48 Ford rear end, the leaf spring mounts 7.5 inches further back from a standard Model A. So Elio is just cutting out some spring shackles right now on the fast cut CNC. Look at that, beautiful.
Need some cleanup, but we'll be able to mount the spring and then figure out the rest of it.
Yeah. So yeah, while we're doing this, Kyle Carter and Karl, they're doing some sheet metal repair on this thing, finishing up we got some patch panels going on down here. And what else have you done on this thing?
I just made a mess of it, really.
Just made a mess, cool.
I'm gonna try patching in these corners today.
Yeah.
And,
is this the nice patch that you made? Is this what you
yeah.
made a mess of?
Yeah.
Looks great.
It's all metal finish and everything.
Yeah,
so
just filler with Miller.
Exactly. We take pride in what we hide here.
But yeah, they're coming along on this, so hopefully, in the next day or two, we'll get this body on there. So my project for right now, I'm going to mount these wishbones onto the rear axle here, and they go through, there is these longer bolts on the backing plate right here. That's how they attach. Elio started putting this together yesterday, but the bolts for this side are missing, so he went and got some new hardware this morning. I'm going to pull this drum off so we can get to the backside and bolt some wishbones up. Both wishbones are mounted. So our next step now is we are going to get these old oval-shaped spring hanger bushings out. To do that, we're going to use the fire wrench, heat these up nice and hot, and then Elio's just putting together this nice little seal driver kit, 7/16 socket, that we can tap that out with. And our plan, so these originally, Ford had like a special tool that pushed these in, or pushed the old ones out and the new ones in, which probably hasn't been made in 50 years. So we're hoping that when this is nice and hot from, heating this up to get it out, the new bushing will kind of slide right in. That's the plan, at least. I missed the money shot. I missed it falling out. We'll put it back in. We'll do
Put
it
it
again.
back.
All right, is the new one gonna go in? Oh my gosh, look at that. Like butter.
It's like that was supposed to be there.
All right, well, there's one side done.
That's it.
With the wishbones on and the rear spring hanger bushings, I think we're ready to put the spring in. The rear end's upside down right now, so we got to flip it over. I think we'll probably just bolt the wheels on it, and then rather than dragging it over to the chassis, we can roll it over because that's easier. This is the spring that Elio wants to run. It's just like a Posey's aftermarket super slide spring. It has urethane bushings in it already. I'm not sure how much of a fight this spring is going to be to get to spread to that distance. Normally you use a spring spreader, but spring spreaders don't really work on reverse I springs because you've got nothing to push on here. One trick that I use to get these in and out is I will take the leaf pack apart, put the main leaf in, and then just put the spring pack back together with the main leaf bolted in the axle. This guy's just talking to himself over there.
And these little quarter bottoms.
All right, we're gonna flip it, roll it, scooch it, spring it.
Flip it, roll it, scooch it, spring it.
I will lift you.
Is that like a new bop it machine?
Yes. Okay, yeah, I'm following you now.
Oh, I already love the different techniques on this game here. We got an English mill guy. I'm probably gonna jam or arcade. What would it be? This with a gas bag and a hammer.
That's plan B for me.
Then off and out. With that.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
These are the spring hangers that Elio made. Spring hanger goes there. Spring hanger goes there.
Yeah.
Mine's worse for wear than your side.
Well, mine's busy.
This is covered in oil already. Oh yeah, we're good.
Kind of square it all off.
So I don't know if you guys over there in sheet metal world care, but we're about to make this thing a roller.
Oh, yeah, we care. We care.
You ready, Elio?
Whoa.
Everybody hop on, let's go push it around the block. Woo! Woo! I think it is, actually, I don't know. Right now it's the front is too high, obviously, but there's also engine and transmission need to go in, which will...
Lower the front substantially.
When Elio told me he Z'd the frame 4.5 inches and was running spring behind, I was a little concerned. It was gonna be a little bit too low. I don't know though, I don't know. We'll see when the engine goes in. It is pretty low in the back.
It is.
It is. The wishbones are really close to the frame rails right here. But when the torque tube goes in,
Yeah, this will probably be like somewhere.
yeah, I think we'll be okay. Let's put an engine in it, see what happens.
Yeah. That fast. Wow. Lee just made this thing a full roller. Look at that. Manhandle it. Slide it over.
So obviously there's still more rear end stuff to do, but this is as far as we can go until the engine and transmission is mounted, because the torque tube that bolts on here gets bolted to the back of the transmission. So we need the transmission to know where it goes. This is the engine and transmission that Elio is running. This is a Ford 8BA flathead that allegedly has been sitting in someone's shop since 1983. We got a 39 Ford style top loader 3-speed transmission to go in the back. Look at this. Look at this animal go. Are you just gonna like pick it up and set it in there? Check out these headers. Clearly not built by the same guy that built the clutch linkage. Forklift certified. Are you gonna drive in? Because, you know, I can roll towards you. If we roll, we're closer to the toolbox. Roller. We're gonna keep on rolling.
I think those headers are gonna freak out outside.
No, are they too wide? We'll just widen the frame to fit them.
Yeah, let's cut it.
Do a little. All right, let's, I don't know what our next step is. I gotta pause and use my brain for a minute. We've just bolted the motor mounts up. These are motor mounts that I make and sell on my website, lgspeedcustoms.com. And I specifically made them for this purpose, for putting a flathead in a Model A chassis. We may have to trim these down. I make them a little bit longer than they need to be, just for, because the frame rail's tapered and people sometimes put their engines further back or use a different frame. So I make them a little bit big so that you can trim them down to fit your exact application. We're gonna lower the forklift now and just set these on top of the frame where we need them. And then we can just measure. That's an easy way to measure to see where we want these. Essentially, we want, like, from here to here is 20 inches apart. So wherever they sit in the frame rail, they gotta be 20 inches apart. We're gonna base our distance off of the radiator, because the radiator, it's gotta go where it's gotta go. So we'll mock the rad up, lower it down, fit it where we need to fit, and then if we gotta shorten this, we gotta shorten it. If we don't, we don't. They're gonna slide in here, and then I usually we'll just drill a couple holes, do like a rosette weld through the top, and then we can just weld it on the inside and across here as well. We've got this mocked up in here about where we want the pulley. I want enough room that you can still get a fan in there. I've made, or not a fan, a belt. Elio's not running a mechanical fan, so we were allowed to move it a little bit further forward. I've made a mark on the frame with a Sharpie here. What we're gonna do is, now that we know how far back the engine has to be, we're gonna lift it out, get it out of the way, unbolt the motor mounts, and put them back inside the frame where our mark is, and then just trim off the back edge here until the center of our hole is 20 inches center to center. When we got them sitting in there, 20 inches center to center with the same amount trimmed off each side, we know the engine is going to sit centered. Obviously right now, we're not. We're a little too far this way, but that's not important right now. So these slide in, pretty much like that. Elio and I just lined them up with our marks here, and he took a measurement, and from our straight line here over to the other side was 19 1/4. And we want 20 inches, which means we need to take 3/4 of an inch out, which is 3/8 per side. Just like that. We trim 3/8 off each end and then slide them back in there. We've got these trimmed and squared up and tacked in place. We're gonna mock the motor up one more time before we fully weld them in. Just, you know, just in case. Just in case. Sometimes stuff gets weird. But I think we're okay. Karl said to just weld them up, but I'm not that adventurous. Okay, go down. Not quite that fast.
Okay, so I don't exactly have the right guy for this bead.
Down a little more.
In the spirit of get her done, I'm going to just do multiple passes and then just kind of cut both sides and try and
All right.
move down the road.
Yeah. Let's
I don't know.
there we go. Cool. As soon as I turn the camera on, he starts hammering.
Oh, sorry. I'm not definitely here. I can screw you over. Maybe I am a little bit, but.
So we just mocked it up. Everything's happy. It's a little bit tight here, and we were like considering, do we move it back a ½ inch? But then Elio was like, well, I'm not running a mechanical fan, so I don't even need this pulley. Which, if he turns that pulley off in the lathe, we got miles of room. Our rad hose, when we had the rad mocked up, is going to be a little tight, but I think 32 Ford radiator hoses, the lower ones, they've got a little whoop whoop. So they should work out okay. I think we're good to fully weld these. Do we want to fully weld them now, or do we want to build transmission mounts and then pull it out and weld the whole thing?
Probably do that. That's probably a smart thing to do.
It's less. Karl's forklift only runs for 6 minutes at a time, so, and we've used 5.5 minutes already. We need to move the transmission a ½ inch this way to get it squared up, but the header is hitting the frame. Elio really wants to use these headers because they're super cool old homemade headers. So we're gonna try to heat this up with the torch. See if we can tweak it over this way. I don't know. Yeah, if we could split the difference between the frame and the starter here. Starters like being close to headers, don't they? That's like good for them.
Enjoy the heat. It makes
Yeah.
it last longer.
Keeps them nice and warm. I think we're good now. It's tight, but we have clearance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not ideal. No.
We're just flipping this trans mount around. It's on upside down, and we were trying to fit the transmission rubbers, and they fit great this way, but they don't fit this way. So once we get it switched, then they should fit the right way, and we can start. We're thinking of building a mount off of here, kind of little L-shaped, something like that. Maybe do a dog leg, like a K-member style, that ties into these, just to like kind of reinforce everything. We'll hold off on that because we got a pedal assembly that we got to fit in here too, so maybe we'll integrate all of it. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We're just winging it. We've been plugging away, trying to figure out a transmission mount for this, and just as we suspected, because I had to do this on my car, we're gonna have to notch this out for the actual torque tube to fit. So I've just drawn on there with some chalk. We're gonna use my favorite tool again, the torch, and cut that out. We've notched that out on both sides, and we're going to take this opportunity to measure our torque tube, which we need to cut down, obviously. This is a 40 Ford rear end, which is that much longer than a Model A. So while Elio stands here and holds this, it's not awkward at all.
Just lifting a whole car up.
Just lifting a whole car. I am going to come in here with the tape measure and measure from where this sandwich is in there. This is warm. To the top of our bolt hole here is 51 1/8. So we need to go from this flange to this flange needs to get cut down to 51 1/8. Whatever measurement that works out to, remember that because we're gonna have to cut the drive shaft the same amount. Our current measurement on this is 71 and 7/8. So 71 and 7/8 minus 51 and an eighth is 20. I don't know. Should we use a calculator to do simple math on?
Yeah.
We're millennials. We can't help it.
I used to be so smart. I don't know what happened.
It's the minusing the 7/8 from the eighth. Well, that'd be a quarter. We can do this. We can do this. So 7/8 minus an eighth is
5/8.
5/8? No, that's 2/8.
3/4.
3/4.
7/8, 3/4. Yeah.
7/8 minus an eighth, 3/4.
So 20 and 3/4.
20 and 3/4.
We didn't need a calculator.
We don't need a calculator. You know, when you grow up, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket all the time.
The biggest lie of history.
I've drawn up a transmission mount idea. I don't know if you can see it zoomed in on there. Those things. We're going to cut 2 of those guys out of some 1/4-inch plate, and that's going to hold the back of the transmission from falling on the ground.
Pom, pom, pom.
I've got those transmission mounts folded. Elio folded them as you just saw, and I got them vice gripped kind of in place here. So now we can weld them on the backside, and then we'll fill and weld this whole weld around there. And it should be nice and solid. They're 1/4-inch plate. Once they're welded, I'm gonna let the jack down and see how I feel. And if it's a little bit, I don't know, if we gotta add a gusset, we can add a gusset in there. We might add a gusset anyways. These engines and transmissions are pretty heavy. So yeah, that's the next step. We'll tack this.
Better than it was, that's what we're aiming for. Better than it was.
Just drawing up a little gusset here. We put a speed hole in it for some style. Cut 2 of those out and weld them together. That was the sound of a torque tube getting cut in half. I got these gussets cut out. The speed hole I put for design, we had a little glitch in the matrix, and for some reason it didn't cut the speed hole in that one. But yeah, we'll weld these in here, and that should really beef it up. Beefy. Beefcake. Got these gussets tacked in there, and we still got a little bit, like the cross member itself is going to flex a little bit, but that's kind of to be expected. And I think if we do those little dog legs like we were talking about, it should be fine. So I think I'm going to probably lift the engine and transmission out now, and then we can go ahead and weld this up. Engine's lifted back out. It's go time. I did slot these just to give it a little bit of adjustment in case my measurements were off, which they weren't, but oh well, they're slotted now. So while those cool down, I'm gonna clean up my coffee that I spilt all over the side of Karl's welder like an idiot. And by the time this is done, we should be ready to drop the engine back in. While I've been doing that, Elio has cut the torque tube itself down. Look at that. Just like a little rainbow of happiness in there. So that should be done. So we still have to cut down the actual drive shaft. Now this is splined on both ends. One end of the splines goes in this little collar right here. On the other end of the splines goes into this U-joint, which slides onto the back of the transmission. Somehow. Eventually. When you have two hands, it'll slide on there. So when I did my Roadster, and every other torque tube I've cut down, I would take this to a machine shop and get them to actually like cut it in the center, take our section out, and weld it back together. That way you kept the spline ends on both sides. However, what I saw my friend Piero, shout out to Mad Fabricator Society, what he did was he just like hollowed this inside out, cut the end off that to the length that he needed, slid it in there, and then just TIG welded this all nice and tight. And that is how he shortened his drive shaft.
How about that better?
Yeah, because you don't have to go to a machine shop then.
I think we're onto something, Piero.
Yeah, I'm gonna lower this thing in here. Oh, I gotta roll ahead a little bit. I've abandoned Elio with his torque tube situation. He's on his own. Do you have to stand on the forklift to make it go down, or can I just like...
No, you can still do it. Yeah.
Whoa, it's faster that way. All right. All right, all our bolts are in. Think we can drop it down.
Hey.
Woo! Hey, Elio, guess what? Your engine is in. I think we can roll this back to get the forklift out of the way. Boom! I think all that's left is the drive shaft, which Elio is still working on.
Almost there, lady.
This worked out really nice. How's our header clearance? Oh, we're still there. We still got clearance, but it is tight. Maybe if this engine comes out again, we'll put a little dimple in the header tube right there. So, Elio's just finishing up the drive shaft here. He actually did it the same as my Roadster. He just cut the ends, moved it together, re-welded it. Now he's putting a collar on it. I've got everything pretty much prepped here. Actually, you know what? We should pull the rear end back a little bit just because it's a lot easier to put the torque tube assembly together, not in the car. Because that cross member is going to be in our way and we'll be fighting it. Sliding the drive shaft back in. And the torque tube's going to go over top of that. I'll grab a zip disc and we can zoink that off. I like how you put the nuts and bolts opposite of each other to balance it out. At 100 miles an hour, that'll make a difference. 15 comments on not wearing safety glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Hey, Kyle.
I think...
Yeah, you guys got this?
Yeah. Okay. Torque tube lined up okay.
Dan's gonna lift it.
Dan's gonna lift. I'll pull jack stands out.
concrete over top of it. Look at that.
Yes!
Right on, guys.
Dude.
Good job.
Engine, transmission.
We measured once.
Everything's done.
Cut 6 times.
Dude, how
This is great.
I don't have access to this feature right here.
Yes.
I
We still got to put this bracket back on, which is what the wishbone's attached to. But we'll do that later because Carl's got a thing that we have to do now. Going live. This is so rad, dude. You got a rolling chassis with engine and transmission mounted.
They're actually mounted.
Mounted, bolted in.
Start her up and let her rip.
Slam some gears. I hope when this car's done, you slam gears harder than that.
There we go, end of day 2. We got rear suspension done, rear end under the car, engine and transmission installed, torque tube shortened, drive shaft shortened. This car rolls. Kyle and Carl have got corners done. They got the bottom done. They got this corner done. If you want to see how they did that, make sure to watch their channels. Carter's Auto Restyling and Make It Custom. Anyways, I'm going to stop this video here. We're going to go eat some food. Stay tuned because on the next video, we are figuring out, I don't know what we're doing on the next video. What are we doing on the next video?
Finish off the rear end.
Yeah, we still got a couple things to button up on there.
Raise it a little bit.
We got to do
A
this.
little bit too low.
Elio put,
Spicy.
he put too much of a C-notch in. It happens.
The front too much.
The steering box we're gonna have to do soon and the pedal assembly, but to do that, we need the body on. I think those guys are just about ready to put the body on anyways, so it might work out.
We do that and knock it out. Everything, measure everything that we need to do. Then they can pull the body off again.
Yeah.
And then,
So to answer your question, I have no idea what we're gonna do in the next video, which is why you need to stay tuned and find out. What do we have here? Another burger. Body's going on.
All the hands on here though, they get like 6 guys.
Where's the areas that you just like slice it over? Oh, this is really light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the weight. Yeah, Skinny's got it got all the weight.
Hey, you guys good? Everybody all right? Yeah, don't too far.
We're gonna go around the shifter.
Yeah.
you gotta grab that pole up and down.
I got it. Oh, I see.
Oh, I put that back.
Yeah.
Okay, straighten down. Is that motor gonna clear?
Probably not.
I mean, hold on. There we go.
You know what? It clears.
Yeah, it kind of clears. I gotta be there. But man, I can put bolts in early.